Nowadays, Odessey and Oracle by the Zombies is considered to be one of the greatest albums of the 60s. However, when it was originally released in the UK in April 1968, the album went pretty much unnoticed. Here's the story of Odessey and Oracle, and the reactions it got from the press in 1968. The Zombies started working on the album in June 1967. 8 out of the 11 songs were recorded at Abbey Road. The band entered the studio after the Beatles had finished recording Sgt. Pepper's. And they used the same 4-track machine that had been used to record the Beatles album. The remaining 3 songs were recorded at Olympic Studios a month later. Odessey and Oracle was recorded to a deadline and tight budget. So the Zombies rigorously rehearsed the songs before entering the studio. In fact, the budget was so tight that the record company refused to pay for orchestral arrangements. This was a devastating blow to the band. But luckily, the Beatles had left a number of instruments behind in the studio. And among those instruments was John Lennon's mellotron. So the Zombies decided to use the mellotron to fill out their arrangements. The record label decided to issue 3 singles prior to the release of the album. The song Friends of Mine, which was one of the first tracks they recorded during the sessions, was released as a single in September 1967, with Beechwood Park as the B-side. New Musical Express journalist John Wells reviewed the single for the magazine. The journalist wrote,
"This group seldom gets the success it deserves from British fans. And in an attempt to remedy that, I'm told the boys have taken 6 months off to rethink their pop approach. On this Happy Driving number, they make excellent use of their harmony talents. It could well be the break they're looking for. I hope so." The flip side is a slow number about summer days spent in Beechwood Park. It's very sad and makes a nice contrast to the other side.
Record Mirror journalist Peter Jones wrote,
"Nice vocal line here, big and confident. And the song is surely commercial. Strong start for their new label deal."
Care of Cell 44 was released as a single a couple of months later, in November 1967. Penny Valentine, who used to review the new singles every week for Disc magazine, was one of the biggest supporters of the Zombies in the British press. Penny Valentine wrote,
"I march on, with my tattered banner flying in the cause of the best most ignored group on the British scene. Rod Argent has written a dear song about a girl writing to someone in prison, veering towards the best kinks. And despite the rather odd title, it's very romantic."
New Musical Express journalist Derek Johnson wrote,
"In this song, we have to imagine that the singer's girlfriend is in prison, and he is writing her a letter explaining what wonderful times they'll have together when she gets out. Despite the depressive nature of the subject, and its questionable taste, it's extremely well treated. It's sincerely rendered by its composer Rod Argent, enhanced by Beach Boy-type harmonies, with a mid-tempo beat, clavier line, and a delicious string scoring. The flip side is a plaintive tale of lost love wistfully and delicately sung, and then exploding into a big bash in the chorus. Again, a delightful harmonic blend."
Despite the positive reviews, both singles flopped. And the lack of success prompted the Zombies to disband. In March 1968, Record Mirror reported,
"The Zombies have disbanded after a professional career of 3.5 years. Group's leader Rod Argent said, 'We decided to quit while we were ahead. We have been earning very good money, particularly on the university circuits, but we felt we were becoming stale. We didn't think we were progressing musically as a group. We are ending our career together with recordings that we wrote and produced ourselves for the CBS label. We have made up our minds not to regroup even if the records are big hits.' To mark the end of their career, they are releasing a single called Time of the Season, written by Rod Argent. And an LP called Odessey and Oracle featuring all original songs. Rod Argent and Chris White are to continue their association. And they will be working together on production and composition."
Time of the Season was issued as a single, a month before the album was released. Again, the single got mostly positive reviews in the press. Derek Johnson from the New Musical Express wrote,
"The very last single from the Zombies before this talented group disbands. And this disc makes us realize just what we're going to miss because it's a good farewell offering. Pity is that it's not the sort of thing that one can confidently tip for the charts, but the discerning listener will enjoy it immensely."
Record Mirror's Peter Jones wrote,
"I'm saddened by the news that this group is breaking up, for they show again that they have more ideas than most. But it is slightly overcomplex for the charts.
Once again, the single was a flop. A month later, Odessey and Oracle was finally released. John Peel, one of the few DJs who gave the album some airplay, lamented the end of the band. Peel, who occasionally wrote for Disc magazine, commented, "It was our fault that they broke up. We shouldn't have let it happen." Another person who lamented the breakup of the band was Stan Haldane, bassist of the band The Alan Bound. This was yet another British group from that era that deserved more luck and success. The bassist sent a letter to Disc magazine. Stan wrote, "I've just bought the ill-fated Zombies LP, Odessey and Oracle. And had to write to say that it's a great pity they now have broken up. We played with them on several occasions. And they were so good that I fail to see the reason for their failure to interest the public. This LP sums up the beautiful music and puts their songs on a level with the Bee Gees and the Beatles. Please give the Zombies a listen, even if it's too late." The album got mostly positive reviews even though some magazines didn't even bother reviewing it. Record Mirror wrote,
"A pity about the Zombies. A pity they're breaking up because they're a very talented pop group. And a pity that their She's Not Their hit was their first record. Although of course, it must have made a fortune for composer Rod Argent. This LP is group composed and produced. And very well. Nice songs, pretty backing sounds and everything well arranged. The majority of the songs are medium pace items. And there's a cover which is a mixture of psychedelia and Greek mythology."
Al Cooper, who was working as a staff producer for CBS, flew to London a few months after the album was released. Cooper visited several record shops in the city, and acquired 40 British LPs. After listening to all the albums he'd bought, Cooper thought that one of them stuck out from the rest. Cooper liked the album so much that he urged the US division of CBS to release the album in the States. CBS eventually decided to release it on one of its subsidiary labels, Date Records. The label released the song Butcher's Tale as a single, hoping that the song's anti-war theme would resonate with record buyers due to the Vietnam War. Even though it's a great track, this was a terrible mistake because it was probably the most uncommercial song on the album. The second single, however, surpassed all expectations.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the real Don Steele.
The real Don Steele, 93 KHJ.
The time of the Season was released as a single, and it became a massive hit in March 1969, reaching #1 in both the US and Canada. After the song became a hit, the label re-released the album with severely cropped artwork. Despite the song's success, the Zombies decided not to reunite. As a result, two bands started touring the States pretending to be the Zombies. The two fake Zombies were managed by a company called Delta Promotions, who figured out a way to tour and sell the Zombies and other bands, without those bands or their fans even realizing. To make this story even more bizarre, two of the members of one of the fake Zombies were Dusty Hill and Frank Beard, from the legendary Texas band ZZ Top. And judging by this warning announcement published in the New Musical Express in August 1969, it wasn't just happening in the States.
It has come to the attention of the Zombies that as they are not making any personal appearances in the UK at present, other groups are illegally attempting to appear under the name The Zombies. Any person or group persisting in this illegal action will be sued.
Apparently, it was the time of the season for cashing in.